sitting to my left, ladies and gentlemen, Adrian Zmed.
Adrian Zmed? I thought he was dead. Oh, my God.
We're not kidding.
We're here.
We've been talking about you forever, right, Preston?
We have. We absolutely have. We are fans. Has anybody ever said to you, I thought you were dead before, though? That's a slight insult.
Well, actually, there was an episode of The Simpsons where I was in one of their musical numbers, and I popped out of a coffin saying, "And I'm not dead."
Here you are in this play, and again, Middletown, and it's two couples, and there's sort of there's some comedy, there's some sadness, but it's the way they've grown over the years. And what drew you to this?
Exactly that. I'm used to, I've been through the Eastern Seaboard so many times with musicals. And I'm used to just being drenched in sweat by the end of the show and doing it. And then I read this play, and it was such a simple play. It's just about two couples who have dinner every Friday night for 33 years.
Right.
They're best friends, and they're normal people, and life happens to them. And it truly is a roller coaster of emotions. I mean, we suck you in by all our little charming quirks that the couples have and everything, and then life happens. There are tragedies in life that you have to deal with, relationship problems with your spouse and everything. But what is the great fascinating thing about this play is that the words speak for themselves. I'm actually first generation Romanian, so my family came, to America for their kids to, be doctors and lawyers, and I come up to my dad and say I'm going to be an actor. And it's like, the funny thing about him is I won him over. I literally out of acting school, I got one of the last national tours of the original Grease, and we were playing in my hometown of Chicago.
You were playing Zuko.
Yeah, I was playing Danny, and we were going into a very big theater into Chicago, and there was and nobody really knew very much about Grease at that time.
Right.
The movie had not come out yet. It was just a hit on Broadway, and there were a few national tours. So the company manager said, "Look, we're having a lot of trouble with this opening night. We're going to paper the house. Tell your dad that you can invite the entire congregation." So,
oh man, that's a
I didn't mention that my father is a priest, an Orthodox priest.
Right,
they can get married.
And Greece is
Eastern Orthodox priests can get married.
Yeah. Greece is very profane.
Oh God,
yeah,
yeah. The stage show.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I'm giving the finger on the show, and it's just like the original Grease was not meant for kids. It was meant for adults looking back on their lives in high school.
So he brings down the congregation.
So there were 500 Romanian people screaming and yelling, and they had their gypsy violins, and they were going singing the act. Every time I came out, there was a big cheer. It was then that my father was won over, and he kind of, although he didn't understand when I ended up getting television and film when I was doing T.J. Hooker. he didn't really understand what that was all about. So he says, You work for 1 hour. What you do rest of week?
That's great.
You are a bum. I got into this business because I wanted to be an actor.
Right.
That's it. I never even wanted to do television and film. I just wanted to work in theater.
Right.
That's all I ever wanted to do. And then one thing happens, and then you're just whisked away, and suddenly you're in Hollywood, and you're doing all this stuff.
You're good friends with William Shatner, right?
Yeah, I'm actually. We're currently working on a few projects with his production company. Actually, we're letting it out right now. We're actually thinking of bringing Hooker back.
Oh, in
a comical way.
That'd be awesome.
Perfect.
Bill is 88. Yeah. But the funny thing about it is that when we did Hooker, Bill pretty much did push the envelope on asking for ridiculous things for Hooker to do.
Okay.
I mean, we had technical advisors from LAPD there, and he said, "Look, no, I got this idea. How about I just run over to the helicopter, and as it's going up, I just grab onto the rung of the helicopter, and when we're up in the air, I take my gun out and I go, bring it down." And the TA standing there going, nobody would ever do that.
The top text here says, "Poor man Travolta, my ass."
Yeah.
He made Bachelor Party, which is an absolute. It's one of my favorite films, and you have one of the best lines in the movie. I think personally.
Look at the cans on that pinball.
Well, you're telling him, man, I really would love to have a relationship
I would love to have this relationship that you have, and someday I'll have kids and be happy. And hey, look at the cans on that pinball. You know that movie. Tom and I lived very close to each other. So so we lived in Studio City, and the sound stage that we were shooting this at was in Culver City. So it was a pretty good distance to go on the 405 freeway.
And you've been on Bosom Buddies, right?
Yes, yes. I played Johnny Midnight, his boyhood friend from camp.
So you knew him?
Yeah. And we'd carpool to work because we could go in the carpool lane and everything. And as every day after we get in the car and we go, our careers are over. Our careers are really over. What are we doing? This is going to be terrible.
No.
All we did was show up for 13 hours a day and goof off. Almost nothing of what the script originally was in there. We just ad-libbed. We just goofed off. And honestly, some of the funniest scenes in the movie never made it into the movie because we had gotten an X rating.
There's a horse scene. There's a horse.
A donkey show.
Let me tell you about this. The donkey actually died.
What?
They brought him back to life.
No.
They literally shot him with some shot of something for him to go, and then he keeled over. And his heart stopped.
Oh, my God.
And we've got all these people, there's like 100 extras. Many of, the girls are half naked and everything. We're all standing there going, oh, my God, they killed the donkey.
Dear Lord.
You resurrected a donkey, Adrian Zmed?
And they did the whole adrenaline thing, you know what I mean? They put the
Oh, my
in his
God.
heart, and he came back.
The donkey snorts 3 lines of coke.
Yeah.
You definitely could.
It's a real good kids movie. I'm really proud.
You're thinking your career's over, but no.
And then, honestly, when we saw the first cut, it was like, Tom and I looked at each other. This is funny. What the hell happened?
Is there any chance you could go back and re-release a director's cut by any chance, or is it too late?
Back then, they didn't save that kind of footage.
Now they do all the time.
And they do it all the time because of everything they do. But honestly, there was one scene that was absolutely hysterical. So we're the Bachelor, the party's not going very well. The hookers haven't showed up. We're sitting in the hotel room looking at a Shirley Temple movie.
Right.
And it's just not going well.
The hookers go to the wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I say, Rick, let's go downstairs and get something to eat. I'm hungry. So we get into the. I'm not gonna do this to say this on radio. This was cut. I said, sit in this booth. This is the best booth in the place. So he sits in there, and all of a sudden you hear a zipper sound. His eyes light up. Right. There's a girl underneath who is
taking care of him,
going to give him a happy ending of some sort. So I, saying my gift to you.
Yeah.
And we see the minister who's going to marry him walk into the restaurant and go, oh, Father, over here, come on, over here. So he comes to the edge and he starts having a conversation with us, and Tom's going, oh, Jesus. Oh, Mother of God. Oh, Mother Mary and Joseph. Oh, he's writhing and everything. And I say, he always says grace before he eats. So.
That's great.
He can't take it anymore. He gets up and runs out. And I said, Father, sit here. It's the best seat in the house. Close up on his face, you hear the zipper sound, and his eyes go like.
That's great.
Didn't make it in the movie. We had offended everybody else. They didn't want to offend the Catholics.
It's so freaking funny.
You and Tom were friends. Could you tell then what a talent he was and what he was going to go on to
and
be?
honestly, one of the nicest guys in the business. Everything that's ever happened to him, he deserves every bit of it. He's a great, great guy.
That's great.
Very talented.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you.
A lot of people don't know this, but Tom was not originally cast in that role, and neither was Tawny Katane.
Toni Katane was the it girl of the time, and she was the White Snake videos. It predates, I think, the White Snake video.
Who was?
Well, we shot 1 month with the other cast.
Who was it?
Oh, no way.
It was Paul Reiser
Really?
and Kelly McGinnis.
Oh my goodness!
Did they get fired?
Well, the producers just felt there wasn't a chemistry going on and everything. And Tom, they had just seen a screening of Splash.
Okay.
Oh.
And they said, we really need to get that guy
that's like
for this.
I couldn't even imagine. And Paul Reiser's talented, man. but
he's great.
He just doesn't have the kinetic.
He was very funny.
Was he?
He was very funny.
Yeah.
There just wasn't a chemistry that was going on.
That's happened before. Back to the Future. Eric Stoltz was. They filmed for quite a while with him in the lead role, and
the scene where he falls and hits his head. That's Eric Stoltz's head. When he falls out of the tree, bonks his head on the.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's Eric Stoltz.
Wow. Okay.
Did not know that.
It's if you've never seen Bachelor Party, and it's worth going back for a visit. A number of people also texting in asking if we're going to bowl tonight, Adrian.
It's funny. I've had the great fortune and lucky to have 2 cult classic movies that are really. They're targeting completely different people.
Yeah.
And it's just really kind of cool after all these years. In theater, which is really my first love, and that's why I still do theater. If I'm going to be doing television and film, I'd rather be behind the camera these days. But if I'm going to act, I'd rather be on a stage because that is the actor's medium. It's electric. It's like a drug. Yeah. Grease too. It was an opportunity to put it was my Danny Zuko that I put on film.
Right, because you weren't. They had to created another character, which is basically Danny Zuko.
Yeah,
and it was a weird thing because you had Grease comes out. You have Travolta's on a meteoric rise. You have Olivia Newton-John. You have all these big stars in it, and then they go with Grease 2 and they cast. Not unknowns, but
they actually did something really kind of. They took a big chance.
Yes.
In what they did. They did not. It was very unique what they did. They also created they created a musical that was never a proven hit on Broadway.
Right.
So none of these songs had ever been heard. It didn't have a track record or anything. And a lot of people, Grease 1 obviously was a massive, huge success. But Grease 2 didn't actually do badly. It in its theatrical release, it made about $80 to $100 million.
I watched
at that time, and people think that it wasn't as big a hit, but today it outrents and outsells Grease 1.
Really?
It's more kid-friendly, and it's actually more of the essence of what Grease, the original Broadway show, was about. It was about all the T-Birds. It was about all the Pink Ladies, whereas the movie of Grease became a vehicle for John and Olivia. In the play, Kanicki sings "Grease Lightning," not Danny.
That's true.
It's his car.
Yeah.
Everybody has had a song in the Broadway show to tell you their story, and that's what. So it's more of an ensemble piece. And Grease 2 was directed by Pat Birch, who was the choreographer of the Broadway show. So she wanted me to do that role badly because they wanted to put a rock star in that role because there weren't any known faces. Michelle had just done, I think, Hollywood Nights.
This is Michelle Pfeiffer
with Tony Danza.
Right.
At that point, it wasn't a big hit or anything like that.
I remember it,
And Maxwell Caulfield was not. He was an English actor, but hadn't done much. And they really wanted a rock star in that role, but Pat wanted me to do it. So she strategically brought me in. After they would see one of Casey and the Sunshine Boys or one of the Gibb brothers or whatever, and then I went in and said, "All right, it's still his. All right, it's still." Until after 12 callbacks, they finally said,
"Wow,
right, it's his role."
Well, honestly, I watch it every time it's on. It has a good energy to it. You're again sort of a self-deprecating, funny guy. The whole bowling sequence is pretty. It's. You can't help but get swept up in it, and it has its own energy. And to this point, you had a lot of talented people involved with it.
Yeah, a lot of people came out of that thing. Even the Seagal twins went on. The girls who were the cheerleaders went on to have their own series.
You have a lot of fans in Philadelphia, and to prove that, I'm gonna show something to you. I don't know if anybody has made you aware of this or not, but I think Steve made an offhand comment one day about. Somebody getting an Adrian Zmed tattoo. So we do this feature every Tuesday called Tattoozy. People come in and actually get a tattoo from our show. It's called the Preston and Steve. They'll get a tattoo with us in it, and we've been doing it for years and years and years. we had a guy who called in and volunteered to get an Adrian Zmed
my
tattoo.
God, I'm looking at it right now.
This is a guy. That's your face on his right pec. It's huge. This was within the last year.
Within the
right?
last year, yeah.
Yeah, that we
and the
had this
guy
done.
eagerly came in.
Yeah.
Please tell me that that's not permanent.
That's permanent. That's a real tattoo on this man's
So when
chest.
he's 90 years old and I look 90 on his chest,
Yes.
what was I thinking?
So we took a picture of you from Grease 2, and that is now permanently on this guy's chest, Adrian.
Now, this reminds me of something that Sally Struthers said about tattoos back when we were doing Grease. She said, "Oh yeah, back in the '60s, I was a flower child. I got a tattoo of a butterfly on my butt. Now it's going into its cocoon."
We're so delighted that you had a chance to come by here. We are big fans.
Nice to come in.
We knew you'd be great.
Yeah,
be
we
with
knew
you
you'd be
guys.
cool. That's great, man. Excellent.
My pleasure.
And you know what? We should do a promotion where we go bowling with Adrian sometime.
Yeah.
How cool would that be? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, some love for Adrian Zmed. Thank you so much.